Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is having a lovely Friday afternoon. My name is Trisha Barton. I am the Senior Manager of Arts and Pedagogy with the Laundromat Project, and welcome to our Create Change 2024 Open Call Info Session. We are so happy and so excited for this. This is our flagship program. We're really excited to usher in a new cohort of residents and fellows, and we're really just excited to share this out with the Bed-Stuy community, the Brooklyn community, and the greater New York City community as well. We will be going over all forms of the fellowship and the residency program. We ask that you hold your questions towards the end. There will be a portion for Q&A towards the end with the last kind of like 15 minutes. So please write down your questions or hold them to the side. And we can't wait, and we're excited to cover them. So just as in general, something that we like to do at the Laundromat Project is our land acknowledgement, and this is really just a matter of covering and acknowledging the land that we've held space in before and that we hold now, and giving thanks to the people who have stewarded the land. We respectfully acknowledge and honor that we are on the traditional lands of the Lenape and the Canarsie, who have stewarded these lands for generations. And we pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. And we ask in a short period of time to just give gratitude and give thanks to people who have stewarded the land, and also your ancestors and people who have brought you to the place that you have arrived at and are becoming as well. There's also going to be a link shared if you are interested to know what land you occupy or what land you live on, excuse me, if you're curious to know who stewarded the land as well. And can we move on to the next slide? So our mission with the Laundromat Project, is to advance artists and neighbors as change agents in their own communities. Next slide, please. And just in general, we're just going to give a general explanation of kind of who we are at the Laundromat Project, kind of where are we located and what are we really focused on, and then we'll go into the requirements for the info session. Please feel free to also kind of activate the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. Also, like if you did if you checked in with the native land, sharing where you are, maybe also sharing your name as well. We'd love to know who is joining us today. Sorry, I just wanted to make that announcement really quickly. So also with our vision, with the Laundromat Project is we envision a world in which artists and neighbors and communities of color work together to unleash the power of creativity to transform lives. Next slide. And so with that, we have our values, and this is also kind of a part of our application process because there's something that we really care about, finding alignment. We have our values that are to 1, nurture creativity, 2, be POC centered, 3, create change, 4, value place, 5, write our own histories, and then practice abundance, and then lastly, be propelled by love. And these values have been growing over the years as the Laundromat Project has been growing. Now I'm going to move on, and our Director of Programs, Catherine Mbali Green-Johnson, is going to go over making a home in Bed-Stuy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Trisha, for that beautiful land acknowledgement and setting the space and tone for today's seminar. Again, my name is Catherine Mbali Green-Johnson. I'm the Director of Programming here at the LP. And again, we're excited to welcome you all and exploring opportunity for Create Change for 2024. So our home in Bed-Stuy, we are located at 1476 Fulton Street. Originally started in the neighborhood. We were founded by Risa Wilson in the neighborhood of Bed-Stuy 17 years ago. We've moved all around the city and now full circle back here in Bed-Stuy. We do work hyper locally throughout the neighborhood, but we are looking to really expand and continue to support the work of artists all around New York City. And so we're really excited to have our storefront home. Please make sure that you come and visit us as we have events inside of our storefront space, but we also again are looking to continue our work in expanding throughout New York City and all the boroughs. And with that, Trisha, I'll pass it back to you. You're on mute, Trisha.
Awesome. Still in 2023, we're still having muting issues after all the times that we've spent on Zoom. So we just want to also put out a COVID-19, and speaking of that, giving out a COVID-19 statement. Given the continued presence of COVID-19 in our communities, all accepted Create Change program participants are required to be fully vaccinated for COVID-19, i.e., having received both doses of a 2-dose vaccine or a single dose of a 1-dose vaccine, and must provide proof of vaccination upon request by the organization. In addition, masks will be required while indoors at the LP storefront location, as well as or outdoors when conducting official LP programs. We will always provide you with masks and the resources that you will need when coming into our storefront. And as what Catherine said, we encourage you to also visit the storefront to see what we have to offer as well. Next slide. And so now we're going to go over Create Change and kind of what is the foundation of Create Change. So with Create Change, we have our learning blocks. There is Make Art, Build Community, and Create Change. And so the first one is Make Art. These learning blocks are embedded within the programming that we have set up within the workshops that are experienced, the coaching that's provided within the fellowship and the residency, and even that focusing on it as it relates to your activation in the final project. So there's Make Art, which is what role does art, culture, and creativity play in making meaning, shifting narratives, and creating change in the world. And participants will examine a range of artworks across the fields of social practice and create placemaking that aligns with the LP's approaches to cultural asset mapping and leadership development. Next slide. Then there's Building Community. And we ask the question, how can art and cultural practices build trust and accountability with communities? And we do this by having participants explore approaches to fostering attunement with community rhythms, building reciprocal partnerships, and the art of meeting people where they are at. And that is kind of a part of the workshops, as well as exploring your own assets and the tools that you have within yourself to make those connections. Lastly is Create Change, and that's focused around understanding the power that exists within ourselves and our communities, and how we creatively leverage power for equity and positive societal change. And we do this by having participants explore personal and collective relationships to race, power, privilege in order to facilitate social transformation through their art and their cultural practices. So those are the three learning blocks that we really focus on and really infuse and embed within our programming and our curriculum, and hope to pass on through both of those, the fellowship and the residencies. Next. Catherine, would you like to go over the schedules?
Hi. Sorry about that. Just had to get plug in. And so you have for your Create Change schedule for this year, we the following dates. We have January 20th, which will be the orientation for Create Change, February 3rd through the 21st of March. We have our Create Change workshops. We also have on March 18th a fellowship fellows coaching, which would be conducted by myself and Trisha and some other members of the Laundromat Project program team. We have our AIRS coaching, which is March 20th, which is facilitated by Ebony Noel Golden, which is she's been stewarding this project and create change for many years. So some guidance there. We also have fellow coachings scheduled for April 3rd, May 8th, and we have our fellows programming on June 1st. We have networking opportunities throughout this project. The first one is scheduled for June 12th. We have our fellows final presentations, which is June 26th, July 3rd, more coaching for our heirs in open studios will take place between July 24th and October 2nd. Oops, so sorry, October 16th. And then lastly, on November 13th will be our AIRS final presentation. Please keep in mind that all of these scheduled dates are subject to change due to weather. This year, we had many things happening with weather and air quality issues. So things do shift and change. So as we are flexible, we ask you all to be flexible as well. But as you're selected for the program, we do ask you that you embed those dates into your calendars so that you're prepared to move forward with them. And so I'm complete here.
Thank you, Catherine. Next slide, please. Regarding the fellowship program, the 2024 Create Change Fellowship is a 6-month incubator that gives participants the tools to develop, workshop, and generate project ideas incorporating the LP's values and community-based methodology. The program requires a significant time commitment as fellows will design community engagement programs within Bed-Stuy. The program offers an $1,000 honorarium and a production budget for programming. I would like to also just add, as kind of what Catherine had mentioned as well, we're going to go through kind of what eligibility looks like for each one of the applications, but also the dates that we had just shared in this recording will be placed on YouTube at a later date. So if you would like to review it, you can. But just keeping in mind of, what a space for, 6 months versus having space for almost a full year of a program between the fellowship and the residency. Next slide, please. So the format of the fellowship program, the 2024 fellowship program will run from February through June. So each fellow will receive a stipend of $1,000 for their participation. And through this program schedule, there will be about 6 workshops. We're working on having other opportunities as well with those workshops, coaching sessions on cultural organizing, opportunity to develop a collaborative public program, a culminating final project, and access to weekly office hours with the LP program staff. And that could be regarding anything that's kind of within your agenda that you would like to focus within your practice. Next slide. So with the fellowship, there is the eligibility starts with you have to be at least 21 years of age. You're not enrolled in a degree seeking program currently, that will be taking place during that time, which someone asked, this is taking place during 2024. Just to be clear with everyone, they're committed to working collaboratively with their cohort members, are aligned with the LP's values and POC-centered principles, which we shared earlier in this presentation. They demonstrate a practice or a deep interest in socially and community engaged art, a familiarity with cultural history and local issues impacting impacting communities of color, and are based in New York City. Next slide. So then there's the residency program, and the Create Change residency program supports the development of participatory and community-attuned creative projects by artists of color working within their communities. Projects may take place anywhere in the 5 boroughs, either in person or virtually across various community sites, from laundromats and urban gardens to playgrounds and community centers. The artists in residence are expected to develop collaborative projects in community through partnerships and engagement with neighbors, local stakeholders, and community organizations. So with the format of the residency is a year-long program, and each artist will receive $15,000 honorarium and up to $10,000 in project production. There will be 6 workshops as well. Just to keep in mind, the workshops are in not to be funny, but in fellowship with the fellowship and the residents. So we're really creating a cohesiveness as it relates to the cohort in general. Alumni is alumni, and we really want everyone to be able to fuse and to have these experiences and share their own practices and community as well as it relates to our cohort. There will also be, for the residency, there will also be individual and group coaching sessions on cultural organizing, public open studios to feature each artist's work, monthly meetings with LP program staff, and studio sessions with leading curators, artists, activists, and scholars, and a mentor to support development of your project and creative practice at large. Next slide, please. And as it relates to eligibility for the residency, you need to be between the ages of 21 and 30, are in alignment with the LP's values and POC principles, have a creative practice that demonstrates a record of public engagement in their creative practice, demonstrates an interest or practice demonstrates an interest or practice in socially and community engaged art, live on one of the 5 boroughs within New York are committed to co-creating a community art project and are familiar with cultural history and local issues impacting the community that you plan to work with. Next slide. So now we're just going to move to Bed-Stuy residency eligibility.
Thank you, Trisha. So for the Bed-Stuy residency eligibility, we're also asking that you are applicants are at least 21 years of age. We're asking that applicants are familiar with the cultural history and local issues impacting Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. We're also asking that the applicants also live, work, and or shows demonstrated investment in the Bed-Stuy community. We're also asking that you are in alignment with the LP's values and POC-centered principles, have a creative practice that demonstrates a record of public engagement in their creative practice, demonstrate an interest or practice in socially and community engaged arts, living in one of the 5 boroughs, and are committed to co-creating a community art project. And next slide. The priority for the Bed-Stuy residency will be given to, just to help counter structural systemic injustices or just of displacement and gentrification in Bed-Stuy. So we are looking to uplift and prioritize the following: applications from generational and long-term residents. So those who have families, have lived in the community for 10 plus years, or themselves have lived in the community for 10 plus years. So looking for deeply embedded applicants in the neighborhood of lived here. Applicants from individuals who identify as Black, Indigenous, Native American, and or people of color. Applications from individuals in the disability community, including immunocompromised individuals, and applications from individuals who identify as LGBTQIA+. So in all of those, just know that those are priorities that we're looking at for the Bed-Stuy residency as well. And I'll pass it back to you, Trisha.
Thank you, Catherine. So the application itself is where we're going to kind of cover next. So as it relates to artists in residence, we're asking for a project proposal in detail with a timeline. The more details, the better we can envision and really understand what your vision is for that project. Questions to gauge relationship to your proposed community. So what is the community that you're hoping to work with? And being, again, like giving as many details as possible. A project budget, and a template will be provided for that. So what is that budget going to look like to carry out from January until November? And then fellowship consideration. On the Bed-Stuy artist in residence side, we're really looking within those applications to have questions to gauge relationship and familiarity with Bed-Stuy, and priority statement questions about identifiers. Next, we're going to go over the open call. So the application has gone live since about Tuesday. You can find this submittable link on our website as well. That's how applications will be submitted. The application opened July 19th, which we're also really excited that the open call happened. The application will close at August 19th, and we'll go through, so specifically when it comes to residents, there will be an interview process, and that date is set for September 19th. For fellows, we will be reaching out. This is within our guidelines on our website. Fellows will be selected fellows from the applications will be asked to submit a video encompassing a prompt that we will send and share. And then there will be decision notifications taking place in October. Next slide. And also, just so you know, the links are to each one of those applications is in the chat. Thank you, Chantel, which I realize I'm going to bring out at the end because that's all part of our LP family. But then there's also the review and the selection process. So the LP staff will review all applications and select a short list. And the short list will be reviewed by our artist and community council. This consists of people in the field, people that are from the Bed-Stuy community and our own LP community as well, making these decisions. So the residency second round will be 30-minute interviews, and candidates will have about 5 minutes to pitch their project, which we shared with what those criteria are earlier, to pitch their project, followed by Q&As by the panelists. Then the fellowship second round, there are no interviews, but we'll be requesting a video, and those will be additional materials that may assist with the video that you share. Next slide, please. So now we are going to move into the questions and answers portion. If you would like to, you can either ask your questions in our chat, or if you would also like to take yourself off of mute, you can raise your hand and we will unmute you to answer your questions. I see Tanja's hand is raised.
And Trisha, do you see the Q&A as well box?
Ooh.
There's some questions there as well. Okay,
I'll start with the questions in the Q&A portion, and Chantel, if you could just pull the ones that may be in the chat that I missed. Okay. So one question is, what are the visa requirements for international artists based in New York? I think though that would be a more specific question with the residency or the fellowship. Catherine, would you happen to have any backup support on
Sure.
visa related requirements?
Sure. So for artists, is this a visa related question? I'm not sure, but we are open to speaking to each candidate individually to see what your situation is here in the country, and it's a case by case basis. So we would be happy to answer any other questions, but there are no restrictions on visas specifically for the fellowship. We do ask that, permanent residency is goes for applicants applying for the residency. But as far as anything else, it's a case by case basis. So we can definitely take a look. Do not let that be a hindrance or barrier for you applying. Please go ahead and submit. And then once we get to that process, we can ask more probing questions to see how long you're going to be in the country and what all is entailed there. So yeah, thank you for that question.
And thank you, Catherine, for that answer. And I think if it's like, what specifically are those visa requirements, that might be something that we can look over in the internet. There's also time that you can book with us to get, application support to kind of look deeper into that, if that is the type of support you need as well. Another person asked for the residency eligibility, what if you're older than 30 years old? So that, yes, you are able to apply, and we welcome all ages. I think maybe that was a typo from the previous year. So from Charlicia Joy, for the eligibility for the residency across NYC, is the age hard 31 to 30 years old? No, just like what we answered before, you can be any age and apply. Let's see. Thank you so much for the info.
Just to support you in there, just 21 and up. we asking that, yeah, but there are no other restrictions besides being 21.
We welcome all ages. Are artist collectives eligible for the fellowship? I believe so. Yes, we welcome that. Please shoot us in an application. Let me see. Do you have to be between 21 and 30? No. You can be older than 21 is the starting age, and moving forward, it's any age after 21. Are people with religious exemptions or with natural immunity from previous infections still required to have COVID-19 vaccination? I believe there are some programmings that would require us to be in person. Catherine, would you have a more detailed answer for that one?
Yeah, again, case by case basis, but religious exemptions are acceptable.
And just please make sure to note that within your application. Can more than one artist apply for the fellowship if they are working in a pair? Yes, they can. You are more than welcome to apply it as a pair for the fellowship. What is the feasibility? And thank you for your questions, everyone. What is the feasibility for someone working full-time to explore either the residency or the fellowship? I know on my end, from my understanding, a lot of the fellows and the residents that we have worked with this past year had other jobs or had other engagements that they had to take. We structure our workshops and the times that we convene together, whether that's virtually or in person. We usually structure that around a time that is not during the normal working day hours, or it's a day that wouldn't normally be dedicated to business working hours, just to support in that way. I think for the residency, it's thinking about kind of this is a long-term project that requires probably a lot of sub work, meaning a lot of planning and just like setting up things. We as the LP are there to support you for that. So you also have support as well as you are going through your fellowship or your residency. But we would say that about 50 hours for the fellowship, and hours wise on the residency, I couldn't give you because it really depends on kind of what you're researching and how much in depth that you would give. But I would also just say, take a look at the schedule and see how much, how many times people can meet, if that's at the time that makes sense for you to meet. And then also just thinking about, planning that would take place during that time, which is also a part of your application. And so with that application, that gives you some time to also time budget and really be realistic about making sure that that aligns with the schedule that you have. But we encourage, like we have people that are working part-time, full-time, no time, that are a part of our cohorts. Can I apply for both the residency and the fellowship if I meet both eligibility requirements? You can, but we also just encourage, I believe there's a test on our website that kind of helps you see what aligns with you better. Because the application process kind of looks different between the fellowship and the residency. And as it relates to, saving your time, everyone and things of that nature, it may be beneficial to take that test and see what would work, and also think about time budgeting as well, what makes the most sense for your time, and choose that way. And just so you know, as a resident, if you apply as a resident, and you're not selected as a formal, if you get through the selection process and you're not selected as a resident, there is an opportunity to also apply for the fellowship afterwards. We extend that as well. So maybe it's focusing on the residency. Hi, only POC can apply, or Or is it just the project itself that should be centered around POC culture issues, realities? So anyone is welcome to apply, but at the Laundromat Project, as it relates to our mission, our values, and what our focus is really geared towards, it's really, and that was also put in our requirements, is really just having an understanding of community and cultural understandings as it relates to POC communities and artistry. So you yourself do not have to be a person of color, but also just making sure that your focus, your study, and everything is related around those issues, culture, and realities. In the future, would you consider an artist residency for artists over 30? The current residency, sorry for that typo, it is plus 30. The stop is at no younger than 21. You can apply at any age past the 21. There's a mention of open studio within the schedule. Is studio space given to residents and or fellows? We do open up our space, our storefront, to work with, to kind of create space and to work on your project. We also have relationships with other people as well, alumni and other organizations nearby, to help support if that is a need for specific or a certain type of studio space based on your material practice. There is a mention, let's see where the age parameters. Age parameters are 21 and up. Can I apply as a collective or a duo, or is it strictly individual? You can apply as a duo. How does Laundromat Project define Bed-Stuy graphically? IG by cross streets or zip codes? Catherine, I'm gonna lean to you on that one, because I know that that's something that we discuss, as Bed-Stuy is changing on a name geographical basis, or that's what people are trying to do.
It's fine, but can you repeat that question, Trisha, just so I can have clarity?
Sure. How does the Laundromat Project define Bed-Stuy geographically, e.g. by cross streets or zip code?
So we look at both. We definitely, zip codes are acceptable. However, again, it's shifting. The community is constantly shifting. So we will take it both into consideration, again, case by case basis, as far as that goes. We've had applicants from last year who are like on the cusp of Clinton Hill and Bed-Stuy, and just making that determination based on New York City data, and of course zip codes. We just took that all into consideration as to what is considered to be Bed-Stuy. So again, don't let that be a barrier for you to apply. We will take it into consideration, as we know that unfortunately displacement and gentrification has shifted what the definition of the neighborhood and the lines for the neighborhood is. So continue to apply so we can take a look.
Thank you, Catherine. Let me see. Is the residency application, someone just asked, and I'll repeat again, that you can apply to both if you would like to, but there's also a test online that you can take, that's on our website, that will tell you which program is probably more in alignment with what you're looking for. And also, if you are applying for the residency and you are selected, but you don't make it to being a resident, you will have the opportunity to apply for a fellowship. In the residency fellowship consideration is mentioned. Can you speak more? What does this mean? That's what I just explained. Read the schedule. You mentioned networking and workshops. What exactly are those workshops about? Those workshops are plugged into our learning blocks, which I covered earlier, which is about make art, build community, and create change. We have various facilitators from Catherine is one, Catherine and Bolly Green Johnson, who covers kind of reparations, to Shawnee Benton, who talks about decolonizing the mind, to Kamal Ware discussing us as being like human devices. I'm forgetting what the name of that workshop is called, but there are various workshops that are specifically aligned to our learning blocks and are focused on giving our fellows and their residents the time to really think about their practice and what the programming is providing and how they can align it or make shifts within their own personal practice. Can you give more examples of questions to gauge relationships to the community, as mentioned in the application slide? So I can't get, so I think it depends on kind of what angle you're thinking about it, but it's like, what is a deep question that you have relating to the community that you can facilitate or explore through your artistic practice? So that can look like a lot of different things. Maybe it might help you to also go on our website and look at previous projects, whether those are fellowships or they are residencies. But really asking the questions, like, for example, Kara Joy William, who's having an open studio this upcoming Monday, and that might be a way to also kind of learn a little bit more at our storefront, our LP storefront. You can find more information on our website and our Instagram, our social media platforms. But her question is kind of like, where is home? And understanding what is home to Bed-Stuy community, African diasporic communities, and it's in partnership with like photography. So there are different ways that you can explore that, but it's really diving deep into your way of what is my artistic practice and how can I collect data or ask a question to kind of develop a larger project. And that's definitely plugged in for the residency. Where can I see eligible and non-eligible expenses? Can you give me a little bit more detail to what you mean by that question?
Trisha, I think I can help to answer that. I think they were going to so as far as production costs that can be applied to so like for instance, we have a upcoming studio, open studio coming up, so the production costs for that open studio will go to catering or, you know, speaker rentals, tent rental, you know, things of that nature. If you had to, you know, anything related to that production for that open studio or for your final project, whether it's material purchases, you know, any equipment that you need to purchase, if you need to also pay a consultant to do some work for you. So that will all would be related to your production costs. But yes, we will, once you are in the program, we have an actual session to delineate exactly what those production costs are for you if you're selected into the residency. And then you also would be provided with a contract, and that contract would also outline what production costs are versus your honorarium fee. Your honorarium fee is yours. We don't, you know, that's totally for you, but production costs is really what, yes. So, right. So that just clarity, collaborators throughout the residency, if you need to commission someone to design a piece for your production, that would be considered a production cost as well. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, any further clarity, we're here.
Thank you, Catherine. There's, and I just read this question. I noticed that on our submittable, there are very specific questions asking about age range. So we will make sure to update, we're taking note of that, to update our submittable application so that those questions are not asked. And just to be specific about what those questions are, there's asking for an age stipulation between 21 and 30 years old to participate this year. And I think that's just an error that we will update. So that shouldn't be an issue later today. Okay, and then can we buy equipment and pay fees to collaborators? So that, yes. So that, and I think as it relates to amount, brings a larger kind of question. So if you're working with the third party vendor, or you're working with someone where you're paying them, especially over $600, there's a larger conversation about taxes. And if you will be the one that's paying, if it's over 600, if you're going to be the one that sends them a 1099 or through like a digital app, the digital app will have to send them a 1099 because that will have to track that amount of money will need to be tracked. So there's a little bit more process when it comes to collaborators, but yes, the production budget is set for that as well. Do we have any more questions? So I'm not seeing that and there are any more questions. If you do have a question and you would like that to be answered, you can email us or you can schedule a time. I just got one question that was like, what is Create Change Institute? Create Change Institute is different. It's focuses around our learning blocks, but it's more from a company perspective or individual like servicing perspective. And that is one that is paid for. So Create Change Institute looks very different and it operates differently. And it's the one for the fellowship and the residency, we're giving you money. For the CCCI, that's for larger groups, companies, or individuals that really want to harness and you align with the kind of missions and values that we have with the Laundromat Project and how that can be embedded in cultural practices, admin work, etc., across fields. So that's a completely different entity or that an offering from the Laundromat Project. And if you do have questions relating to that, please feel free to email us to let us know. But if we do not have any more questions regarding the Create Change application for the fellowship, the residency, and the Bed-Stuy residency, we are going to close a little bit early, give everyone their time back on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I don't know, beautiful, it's like overcasting and doing different things, but it was beautiful earlier. I saw the sun peeping out. But thank you so much for joining.
Hold on. If they need support, they can schedule an appointment.
Yes. So if you, this is actually a perfect time also to just say that this is Chantel as well. I didn't give a chance to introduce Chantel, but Chantel, would you like to just say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Just behind the scenes, making sure you get everything you need. Thank you. Looking forward to meeting some of you as well.
Yes. Chantel is our programs coordinator, makes all the things happen in the background. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. Thank you for joining us during this hour. And we hope to see all of your applications. And also please feel free to book a 15-minute appointment to ask questions regarding your application, which I believe the link will be dropped. Hope to see you all soon and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care.